A 19-year-old just led every single NCAA player in scoring, went number 1 overall in the draft, dropped 27 points in his very first Summer League game, and he is still not the betting favourite to win Rookie of the Year. Today, we are breaking down the 2026 NBA rookie class, what makes this group genuinely different from recent drafts, why AJ Dybantsa projects as the best player in the class, and what his situation in Washington actually means for his development. By the end of this episode, you will understand exactly what separates Dybantsa from the rest of this class and why the all-white odds tell a more complicated story than you might expect. Joining me to dig into all of it is someone who has been deep in the scouting reports and the numbers, so let's get into it. What is your first read on this rookie class overall?
This class is genuinely different. Like, the depth at the top is something we have not seen in a while. You have multiple players who came in as immediate contributors, not projects. The Athlon Fantasy Breakdown put it well. Unlike some years where you are waiting for rookies to grow, this group is packed with plug-and-play stars.
Plug and play is a strong phrase. Who are we actually talking about at the top?
So, the consensus big board from Rookie Scale, which aggregates inputs from ESPN, The Athletic, Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, The Ringer, and dozens of other outlets, has AJ Dybantsa at number 1, Darren Peterson at 2, Cameron Boozer at 3, and Caleb Wilson at 4. And all 4 of those guys project as real contributors from day 1.
Okay, so walk me through the top of the class. Starting with Dybantsa, what did he actually do at BYU?
He led all NCAA scorers at 25.5 points per game, and he added 6.8 rebounds. On an injury-depleted BYU squad, he was essentially carrying the whole thing. NBADraft.net gave the Wizards an A grade for the pick and said it is hard to envision a scenario where a prospect this talented and driven ends up being anything less than an all-star.
Leading all of college basketball in scoring as a freshman. That is not a small thing.
Not at all. And what makes it more impressive is the context. He was not just padding stats on a bad team. He was the primary option, the facilitator, the guy opponents game planned around, and he still put up those numbers.
So what about the rest of the top 4? Because Boozer seems to be getting a lot of attention too.
Boozer is fascinating. He went to Memphis as the 3rd pick and posted 22.5 points and 10.2 rebounds per game at Duke with 55.6% shooting efficiency. NBADraft.net described him as playing with polish, poise, and precision that is hard to believe from someone who had not yet turned 19. He is a next-level passer for a post player.
And Peterson, he went to Utah at number 2.
Peterson is the high-ceiling, high-risk guy. He averaged 20.2 points at Kansas and is described as one of the most lethal scorers in this or any other draft. But NBADraft.net literally graded him A or F, nothing in between. His competitiveness has been questioned, and he had just 38 total assists in his entire collegiate career, never topping 4 in a single game.
Wait, 38 total assists? For someone being called a potential point guard?
Yeah, that is the tension with Peterson. The scoring is undeniable. The everything else is a real question mark, which is exactly why Dybantsa, despite being the same age, feels like the safer bet for long-term greatness.
Okay, so let's actually dig into Dybantsa specifically, because the numbers are one thing, but what is it about his game that has scouts so excited?
Start with the physical profile. He is 6'9" far, 217 pounds, with a wingspan that hoop brief clocks at nearly 7 feet. That combination of size and fluidity is what NBA teams are building around right now. He is what NBA Draft Labs called the modern evolution of the jumbo wing archetype.
The jumbo wing. That is basically the most coveted position in the modern NBA.
Exactly. And Dybantsa fits it perfectly. He can score at all 3 levels, attacking the rim, hitting mid-range pull-ups, and creating his own shot off the dribble. Babcock Hoops, which does deep scouting work, said his mid-range game is already pro-ready because his 6'9" frame lets him shoot over smaller defenders with a release point that is virtually unblockable.
Virtually unblockable is a phrase that should make every defender nervous.
And it is not just offense. His stocks rate, that is steals plus blocks combined, is highlighted by NBA Draft Labs as a defensive versatility usually reserved for dedicated rim protectors. So you are getting a wing who can guard multiple positions and protect the rim. That is rare.
Okay, so here is the thing I keep coming back to. If he is this good, why is Cameron Boozer the Rookie of the Year betting favourite? FanDuel had Boozer at plus 240 and Dybantsa at plus 400 as of late June, according to CBS Sports.
That is actually a really important distinction to make. The ROI odds are about immediate statistical production, not long-term ceiling. And Boozer is going to Memphis, where he is the clear go-to guy from day one. Dybantsa is going to Washington, where he is playing alongside Trae Young and Anthony Davis.
Wait, the Wizards have Trae Young and Anthony Davis now?
Yeah, Basketball Reference noted that Washington signed Trae Young to the largest free agent contract of 2026 and also traded for DeAndre Ayton and Chris Middleton. So the Wizards went from a 1765 team to suddenly having a loaded roster around their number one pick. That is a wild organizational turnaround.
So on one hand, Dybantsa has more help. On the other hand, he might not be the focal point of the offense as a rookie.
Right, and CBS Sports' David Cobb actually argues that is a feature, not a bug. His take was that Dybantsa won't be the focal point of opposing scouting reports as a rookie, which will help his efficiency and allow him to shine as the complete player he is. Cobb picked Dybantsa for ROY specifically because of that dynamic.
That is a really interesting framing. Like, being the third option on a good team might actually be better for his development than being the first option on a bad one.
Exactly. And there is historical precedent for that. Young stars who get to learn alongside veterans in winning environments tend to develop faster and more efficiently than guys who are thrown into the fire on rebuilding teams.
Now, to be fair, there are real concerns about Dybantsa's game too. What are the scouts flagging?
Two main things. His outside shooting was inconsistent. Hoop Brief has him at around 33% from three in college. And his decision-making under heavy usage needs work. When teams pressure him into decisions, he can generate turnovers. Babcock Hoops also flagged shot selection as something he needs to clean up.
33% from three is not great. Does that worry you?
It is something to watch, but it is not disqualifying. His free throw rate is elite, which NBA Draft Lab says signals an aggressive downhill mentality and the advanced body control to finish through contact or draw whistles. That is actually one of the best indicators of NBA scoring scalability. Players who get to the line at a high rate tend to translate well.
So the free throw rate is almost more predictive than the three-point percentage at this stage.
For a wing of his profile, yes. The three-point shot can be developed. The ability to create contact and finish through it, that is a skill set that is much harder to teach. And Dybantsa already has it.
Let's talk about what we actually saw from him in Summer League, because that is the most recent data we have.
He opened the Las Vegas Summer League with 27 points and 7 rebounds against Utah, then followed it up with 23 points, 3 steals, and 2 blocks against Sacramento. Hoop Brief noted he quickly entered the early Rookie of the Year conversation based on those 2 games alone.
2 games. That is it. And the Wizards actually shut him down after those 2 games.
Right. ESPN reported the Wizards ended his summer league after just 2 games. Which, honestly, when you think about it, is a sign of how much they value him. You do not risk your franchise cornerstone in meaningless summer games when the regular season is what matters.
ESPN also had a comparison for him that I thought was really vivid. What was it?
ESPN likened him to a supercharged Jaylen Brown on the high end, with shades of a scoring Tracy McGrady. That is a wild ceiling to put on a 19-year-old. But when you watch the film and see the combination of size, athleticism, and shot creation, you understand why those names come up.
Tracy McGrady is one of the most gifted scorers in NBA history. That is not a comparison you throw around lightly.
It is not. And NBA Draft Labs backed it up analytically. They said his ceiling is a multi-time All-NBA first-team selection and a primary scoring option on a championship contender. That is not just hype. That is based on his usage rate exceeding 30% while maintaining true shooting percentages well above league averages. That combination is rare for a high-volume teenage wing.
Okay, so here is where I want to push back a little, because Crafted NBA, which uses machine learning and historical data, actually has Dybantsa ranked 6th in the class, not 1st. They have Boozer at number 1 with a 100 rating and MVP potential.
Yeah, that is a real divergence from the consensus. Crafted NBA's model gives Boozer a 100 offense rating and puts him in Tier 1 with MVP potential. Dybantsa is in Tier 3 with all-star upside in their system. So there is a genuine analytical debate here.
What do you make of that gap? Because the consensus board has Dybantsa at 1 and Boozer at 3, but the machine learning model flips it.
I think it comes down to what the model is weighting. Boozer's efficiency numbers at Duke, 55.6% shooting, nearly automatic double-doubles, are the kind of clean, consistent production that algorithmic models love. Dybantsa's value is more in the shot creation and physical tools, which are harder to quantify. The scouts see something the model might be undervaluing.
So it is almost a classic scouting versus analytics debate playing out in real time.
Exactly. And both sides have merit. Boozer's floor is probably higher. He is more polished right now. But Dybantsa's ceiling, according to the human scouts and analysts, is the higher of the two. Matt Babcock from Babcock Hoops put it directly. He has elite physical tools you just cannot teach, and star potential written all over him.
Let's zoom out for a second, because beyond the top 2 or 3, this class has some really interesting depth. Who else should people be paying attention to?
Caleb Wilson at UNC went 4th to the Bulls and brings massive defensive upside, 1.4 blocks and 1.5 steals alongside nearly 20 points per game. Darius Acuff Jr. went 7th to the Kings and averaged 6.4 assists per game at Arkansas, which is elite playmaking production. And then there is the Summer League story. Malik Thomas of the Cavaliers was the scoring leader in Vegas at 28.3 points per game.
28.3 points per game in Summer League. That is a number.
It is. Though ESPN's Zach Cram was careful to note that Summer League rankings are inherently subject to small sample variance. He literally called them way too early rankings. So you take those numbers with some context.
Right. Keaton Wagler was actually described by ESPN as Exhibit A for why you should not overreact to Summer League performances.
Exactly. Summer League is a data point, not a verdict, which is why Dybantsa's two-game showing is encouraging, but not the whole story. The regular season is where it actually counts.
And speaking of the regular season, the ROI race is genuinely wide open. FanDuel had Boozer at plus 240, Peterson and Dybantsa both at plus 400, Acuff at plus 450. That is a pretty tight field.
It is. And CBS Sports had their experts split. Some picked Dybantsa, some picked Boozer. Adam Finkelstein's take was interesting. He thinks Boozer has the pathway to being the most impactful rookie in the shortest period of time, but the ROI award usually comes down to stats, and stats favor whoever has the biggest role.
Which circles back to the Wizards situation. If Dybantsa is playing alongside Trae Young and Anthony Davis, his raw numbers might not be as big as Boozer's in Memphis.
Right. But here is the thing. Dybantsa's per 36 projections from NBA Draft Labs suggest a player capable of averaging 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists at the collegiate level. If even a portion of that translates to the NBA, the numbers will be there regardless of who else is on the floor.
And his playmaking is something that does not always get highlighted. NBA Draft Labs specifically called out his over-the-top vision, the ability to find weak-side shooters or cutting bigs that smaller guards simply cannot see.
That is the piece that separates him from a lot of high-volume scorers. Most guys who score at that rate are not also facilitating at a high level. Dybantsa does both. Hoop Brief had him at roughly 3.7 assists per game, which for a wing of his profile is genuinely impressive.
So when you put it all together, the physical tools, the scoring versatility, the playmaking, the defensive potential, what is the honest case against him being the best player in this draft?
The honest case is the three-point shooting and the decision-making. If he cannot become a reliable perimeter shooter, defenses will eventually sag off him and take away the driving lanes. And if his shot selection does not improve, the efficiency numbers will suffer under heavy NBA usage. Those are real concerns, not just nitpicks.
But those are also things that can be developed, right? Especially with the right coaching and the right environment.
Absolutely. And the Wizards have built a roster around him that should accelerate that development. Playing alongside Trae Young, one of the best shooters and playmakers in the league, is going to open up driving lanes for Dybantsa that he would not have on a lesser team. The situation is genuinely good for his growth.
There is something almost poetic about that. The number one pick on a team that went 17-65 last year, now surrounded by all-stars, trying to figure out how to be a star himself.
And that is the Wizards' bet. They did not just win the lottery, they built around the pick. That is the difference between a franchise that is serious about winning and one that is just collecting assets.
All right, so let's bring this home. When you step back from everything, the scouting reports, the Summer League numbers, the ROI odds, the team situations, what does this rookie class actually mean for the NBA going into next season?
It means the league is about to get a serious injection of talent at the top. Athlon Fantasy described this class as, unlike some years where you have to wait for rookies to grow, this group is packed with plug-and-play stars. That is not just fantasy basketball talk. That is a real shift in how quickly this generation of players is arriving, ready to compete.
And Dybantsa is at the center of that. The number one pick, the number one consensus prospect, already in the ROI conversation after 2 Summer League games.
And here is what I keep coming back to. NBA Draft Lab said he does not just project as a high-level starter, he has the ceiling of a multi-time All-NBA first-team selection and a primary scoring option on a championship contender. That is the kind of language you reserve for generational talents. And the early evidence suggests it is not hyperbole.
The comparison to a supercharged Jaylen Brown with shades of Tracy McGrady is going to live in my head for a while.
It should, because if that ceiling is even half right, we are watching the beginning of something really special. The question is not whether Dybantsa will be great. Based on everything the scouts and analysts are saying, that seems close to a given. The question is how soon.
And that is the thing about this class broadly. It is not just Dybantsa. You have Boozer, Peterson, Wilson, Acuff, all of them with real paths to meaningful minutes and production from day one. This is a class worth watching closely all season.
And the ROI race is going to be genuinely compelling. Boozer is the favorite for a reason, his role in Memphis is clean, and his production should be immediate. But do not sleep on Dybantsa. The Wizards built a situation that could allow him to shine in ways that surprise people.
Here is what this really comes down to. A 19-year-old led all of college basketball in scoring, has a wingspan approaching 7 feet, and is being compared to Tracy McGrady by ESPN. He went number 1 overall to a team that just signed Trae Young and Anthony Davis. And he is still somehow not the ROI favorite. That tension between ceiling and immediate role is the story of this entire rookie class.
And it is a story worth following, because the gap between the best player in the draft and the rookie of the year is not always the same person. Dybantsa might be both. Or Boozer might take the award while Dybantsa quietly becomes the better long-term player. Either way, the NBA is better for having both of them.
So here is the takeaway. Watch this rookie class with fresh eyes. Do not just track the ROI odds, track the development. Watch how Dybantsa handles playing alongside veterans. Watch whether Boozer's efficiency holds up against NBA defenses. Watch whether Peterson's scoring translates, or whether the question marks around his game become real problems.
And pay attention to the guys outside the top 4. Malik Thomas led Summer League in scoring at 28.3 points per game. Alan Graves is being described as a steals machine in Toronto. This class has depth that will surprise people all season long.
We started this episode with a question that should have felt obvious. Why is the number 1 overall pick not the Roy favorite? And the answer turns out to be one of the most interesting things about this class. It is so good at the top that even the best player in the draft is not a lock for the award. That is a wild thing to be able to say.
It really is. And it is a testament to how strong this class is. Dybantsa is the crown jewel. NBA Draft Labs called him exactly that. But the jewels around him are not fake either.
A 19-year-old who led all NCAA scorers has a near 7-foot wingspan and is being compared to Tracy McGrady, and he is still not the betting favorite.